All right, co-main event time. This is a good one here. Gregor Gillespie versus Brad Riddell. Lightweight fight. Alok, can you get us going?
Yeah, I love me some Gregor Gillespie in this spot. And now a lot of people want to go out there and kind of just fade him because he got knocked the hell out by Kevin Lee in his last fight. But that's literally his only loss in his MMA career. Are we really willing to go out there and just write off a guy that has the amount of potential and, well, not just potential, legitimate skill that Gregor Gillespie has? I'm not willing to do that. If you're still giving me better than minus 250 on this guy, I'm going to go out there and play that because I like the guy. I think that he has the best skills that you need in MMA to go out there and be successful. Probably one of the best wrestling games in that division at this point in time, and great cardio to back it up, and not to mention even better jiu-jitsu to go out there and actually be very successful and effective with that wrestling. Because it's one thing to get the fight to the ground, but what are you going to do once you get to the ground? You do what Gregor Gillespie does, and you start searching for next. The only time he's ever been to a decision in the UFC was his first fight against Glyco Franco, who's a solid fighter, albeit not in the UFC anymore, but still a solid fighter, but then goes out there and finishes everybody else. Level of competition, okay, obviously a little bit sketchy, but he hasn't really had the opportunity to fight the top guys. You fight Kevin Lee, who you got to respect the wrestling in Kevin Lee, which is why I think the fight stayed on the feet for as long as it did. And for as long as it was on the feet, Gregor Gillespie wasn't doing half bad, right? He was jabbing the face off of Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee had some visible damage after that fight, and Kevin Lee lands a big bomb and obviously the head kick afterwards and breaks the jaw of Gregor Gillespie. But I think it took the necessary amount of time off, right? Close to a year and a half off at this point in time. And by all accounts, based on his interviews, the guy seems like super accepting of that loss, knows that it's bound to happen in the MMA game if you stay around long enough, and he's accepting of it and moving forward. And I feel like stylistically, this is a great fight for him. Brad Riddell is being talked up as this crazy knockout artist guy, but like, was he knocked out in the UFC? You gave him Jamie Malarkey, and he could have knocked that guy out. Come on. And all these guys are getting in on takedowns on this guy. That's so easy to close the distance against Brad Riddell that it's just a matter of time. I think within the first minute or so, Gregor's going to be able to land that first takedown. And and the great thing about Gregor is when he goes for takedowns, he doesn't give up on that first attempt. He's chaining that second, third, fourth takedown. He's not, once he gets his paws on you, he's not letting you go until he gets your butt on the ground. So I like that tenacity out of him. And again, I like the cardio because that's where Brad Riddell's opponents have failed in the past. They go out there and they have a very successful first round. Alex De Silva takes him down. Magomed Mustafayev gets dropped, and right after getting dropped, converts it into a takedown of his own and then controls the remainder of that round. Even Jamie Malarkey goes out there and gets a takedown. But then once the fight goes longer, their cardio starts to drop off, and that doesn't happen with Gregor. If anything, he gets stronger as the fight goes on, and he's able to, go out there and get finished, whether it's a ground and pound from the back position or he finds that arm triangle choke or a rear naked choke. The guy is a killer. He goes out there to find that finish. He doesn't try to go out there and just lay and pray. He is a finisher. He's a killer. So, that we have to obviously state that Brad Riddell could potentially knock this guy out. That's his path to victory here. But I'm willing to not go out there and write off Gregor Gillespie completely. I still think he's a top 5 talent. I think he can go out there and, fight for the title. Hopefully he's able to do it soon, though, because he's like 33, 34 years old, so time's really not on his side. But I still think that he's in his peak performance, peak time to go out there and get victories. And he started his MMA career at 24 years old, right? He's only been in the game for 9 years compared to these other guys who are starting at 18, 19 years old. So I still think he has a solid amount of years ahead of him that he can go out there with a very safe type of game plan too, right? He's not taking much damage by taking these guys down continuously. Obviously, that Kevin Lee knockout was a ton of damage, but that probably makes up for all the 12 fights that he had before that. But still, he's still going out there and playing a very safe game plan, which is getting the fight to the ground, and he's one of the best wrestlers in the game to do it. So I like Gregor here. I think the submission is very live, plus 250. Not a bad spot there either. One thing I also will say, I think that Brad Riddell also has a bit of a sketchy gas tank. Luckily for him, his opponents just have had a worse gas tank. So the longer this fight goes, I think the easier it will be for Gregor to find that finish. And I do like Gregor here. I like him a lot, to be honest. And I think he gets the finish here. So I'll go with that. I'll go with the minus 230-ish to minus 240-ish Gregor, and I'll take that plus 250 on the sub line. And if you're not trusting of one Gregor Gillespie after coming off that knockout, the under 2.5 is not a bad spot either, because if Riddell wins this fight, probably knocks him out. There's no way he goes out there and controls this fight on the feet for 15 minutes. He got taken down how many times in his last several fights, right? I think Mustafayev landed like 6 or 8 takedowns on him, and then Jamie Malarkey and Alex De Silva landed 3 takedowns on this guy. Now you're giving him probably the best wrestler outside of Makhachev in this division. Yeah, the takedowns are going to come, and I think it's going to look relatively easy for one Gregor Gillespie. So yeah, I like Gregor, and I think he wins this fight via submission, probably first or second round.
I love it. Cody Saftik, let him know.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gillespie as well, but a lot of it's just the belief. The belief is this guy's got to shoot that takedown. And if he shoots the takedown, he's getting it. No doubt about that. I mean, if you're unfamiliar with his wrestling credentials, they're quite literally second to none. Guy's a national champion, guy's D1 All-American out of Edinburgh. He's quite literally the man. If it wasn't for Jordan Burroughs, this guy would have made a run in the Olympics. He probably would have made the world team. Unfortunately, the man named Jordan Burroughs fights in the same weight, wrestles in the same weight class. And that was kind of it. Gillespie in MMA, if he wants you down, he's going to take you down. You see all of his fights, he gets them down routinely. Outside of Andrew Holbrook, who he just one punched before the fight even had to hit the ground, he's scoring takedowns on all these guys. And that's the move here. You just got knocked out by Kevin Lee. You've been off for a year and a half. You're 33 years old, 34 years old, actually. It's like you got to go in there and you just got to fight to your strong suit. And that's his wrestling. Now, Brad Riddell understands you want to take him down because being at a city kickboxing is the same thing. Pretty much most of the guys that come out of the gym, right? They're all kickboxers. They're all striking stylists. You generally want to take them down. So they've been working on the takedown defense, but, it's just not too little too late. How can you get ready in a matter of months or a matter of years, ready for something that Gregor Gillespie has been doing quite literally his entire life? Right? He's been wrestling since he's 4 years old. Like, how do you defend against that? You can't. So what Brad Riddell's done an excellent job in the UFC is he gets up really quick. So you see Jamie Malarkey takes him down. That's a bit of a problem. Malarkey's a boxer from New Zealand, but he gets back up. The Maga Mustafa fight, he gives up 8 takedowns, actually. But a lot of the time, it's like he gets taken down to a knee and then pops right back up. And then you see in his last fight against Alex Silva, again, he gets taken down 3 times, but he always works his way back up. Against Gillespie, you don't have that luxury. If he takes you down, he's taking you down. Getting up is going to be much more difficult. He's a BJJ black belt. Also, his grip strength is very, very strong. He's got a very smothering top control game. And if you do manage to get back up, which is entirely possible, he'll just peel you back down. He does got good cardio. He can rinse, repeat. But he has to go in there with a wrestler's mentality. If he goes out there with a striker's mentality, who knows what's going to happen? In the Kevin Lee fight, he shot 1 takedown. It was half-hard. He didn't fully commit to it. But he was getting his jab going. He was getting his hands going. Unfortunately, he was getting hit. He's getting hit a lot by Kevin Lee. That same thing's going to happen here against Brad Riddell if he was to stay standing. I just don't think he will. I think he'll go out there with the proper game plan, get this fight to the ground. Now, the 2 ways I'm looking at this fight specifically is, 1, fight goes the distance, right? That's going to cover me both ways. If Brad Riddell wins, could he knock out? He absolutely could knock out Gregor. We just seen how bad he got the last time out. But beyond that, I know Locke spoke about this already. He's got 3 wins in the UFC, 3 wins by decision. He hasn't really shown, huge power as far as his UFC tenure goes. So I don't think he's going to knock out Gillespie. Gillespie, meanwhile, taking him down. I think he's going to take down Riddell, rinse and repeat, take him down, win the fight based on holding this down with his wrestling. Brad Riddell's never been finished in his career. So could you submit him? Yeah, but we don't have a great indication that he just gives up submissions. We don't have a great indication that he's got some porous issue in his game. Takedown defense is the only thing that's let him up, but he's always getting back up. He's a good, well-rounded fighter. I like him a lot. It's just I'm a big style makes fights kind of guy, and wrestling tends to beat striking. High-level wrestling versus high-level striking, wrestling tends to be the move. Is that Gillespie has to commit to that style of game plan and keep at it. So again, first thing I'm looking for is fight goes the distance plus 115. Second thing I'm looking for is Gregor Gillespie by decision.
Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I got Gillespie all day in this fight. I think that, you watch Brad Riddell, a lot of his fights, he has that Muay Thai base, so he doesn't use a lot of movement. He likes to come forward, stand right in front of you, and I don't really think that's a good recipe for a guy like Gregor. I don't think Gregor's going to go in there and box with him like he did with Kevin Lee. If he does, then, obviously Riddell's super live. He keeps everything super tight, and he'll probably counter him and knock him out. But, Gregor Gillespie has that low single, man, and he has so many variations to finish that single leg, man. He probably has the best single leg in the UFC, to be honest with you, because he could finish it in a lot of different ways. And once he gets on top, his scrambling ability and just awareness, like knowing where the person's going to move on the bottom is just really good, man. He has next level top pressure. We've seen him against these guys like Vince Bichelle, Yancy Medeiros, who are at least formidable fighters, and he just smothers them, just absolutely dominates them. I think he had a fight with in the fight with Vince Bichelle, he was winning like 84-0 at one point on strikes or something in the second round before he submitted him. So it was just a complete clinic against a guy like Vince Bichelle, who's at least a decent fighter. And I just see Brad Riddell. Even in these fights too, he likes to grapple himself. Like he'll get up out of the takedown, and he'll reshoot into the clinch. And it's like, I don't know if that's like something that's just in his head, like ingrained from Muay Thai or something, but seems like he likes to clinch up too. And I mean, against Gregor, I just feel like it's just not a good striking style because he doesn't really move around that much. He likes to come forward, and I just think it's going to come right into Gregor's range. He's going to hit the single leg, take him down, and I don't think that these guys that Brad Riddell has been fighting, like Magomed Mustafayev, like Alex Da Silva, are even close to the level of grapplers of Gregor Gillespie when they get on top. I mean, those are strikers, man. I mean, Alex Da Silva, Magomed Mustafayev, I mean, those guys are known for striking. I mean, you see Mustafayev landing that spinning back kick on Rafael Fiziev. So, I mean, they were able to take him down. So I just feel like if Gregor takes him down, it's going to be a different world in terms of the top pressure, the submission game that Gregor has, just the ability to scramble. We saw Mustafayev really do a good job of controlling Brad Riddell in that wrestling ride position, which I feel like if Mustafayev is doing that, Gregor is going to be able to control you super easily there. Mat return you if you get up. So I think that, the cardio checks out for Gregor to wrestle for 3 rounds if he needs to. And I think he could get, potentially a ground and pound or submission. So I got Gregor in this fight for sure.
It's a clean sweep, boys. I got Gregor as well. Locke, you said, for your money, you think Gregor's probably the next best guy wrestling-wise after Islam. Dude, I am so with you. This guy's ability to get a fight to the mat, and not just get a fight to the mat. As soon as the fight hits the mat, he's already setting up that next step. It's not this to this to this. He's flowing like water. Whatever opportunity is presenting himself, he's taking it to get into a dominant position. I think he learned a very valuable lesson in that. Let's just keep it real. Spectacular and beautiful KO loss to Kevin Lee. Man, the right hand to the left head kick. Truly phenomenal. Gregor took some time off. I think that was good. He is an older guy, so he needs to go, man. The clock is ticking. I just feel like Gregor stylistically matches up so well against Riddell. There's nothing left to say. You guys have talked about it. Riddell's been taken down by basically every opponent, and these guys just are not on the level of Gregor. I feel like for Gregor to lose this fight, he's going to have to play around on the feet too much, give Riddell that opportunity to land some huge shots. I really don't see it. I think Gregor goes in here, handles his business, takes this dude down, mops him up. I think he's even live for a late finish, but regardless, I got Gregor Gillespie in this one, and it's one of my more confident picks on the card.